It was just past 3 o'clock, and she figured she had another few hours to kill before her parents would be finished with the FBI. She pulled out of the parking lot of the OCME, turned onto District Drive, and then onto Blue Ridge Road. After being confined in the morgue for the morning, the CrossFit gym would be her next distraction. She glanced into the rearview mirror and saw a Toyota SUV behind her. Something pinged in her mind, a subtle warning that might have gone unnoticed had the last few days not put her nervous system into overdrive. Sport utility vehicles were everywhere, and she worked to figure out what made the one behind her stand out. It was a late-model silver Toyota 4Runner that should have blended in with the hundreds of others that made up the Raleigh area traffic. Yet something about the vehicle caught her attention. Sloan made a turn and approached the entrance to Highway 40. At the last second, she swerved onto the on-ramp and merged into traffic. In her rearview mirror, she watched the 4Runner follow her onto the highway and pass a few cars to keep pace. She slid into the middle lane and aggressively passed a few cars before jumping into the left lane, where she gunned the engine and flew past an 18-wheeler semi-truck. Once clear of the big rig, she cut across all 3 lanes of traffic to narrowly catch the exit ramp. As she exited the highway, she watched the silver Toyota continue on in the middle lane, wholly uninterested in her lunacy, continuing north on Highway 40 as if it were any other vehicle on the road. Sloan turned at the end of the exit ramp. The last few days had her on edge. After a brutal AMRAP workout, as many reps as possible, she took a cold shower, changed into jeans and a blouse, and checked her phone for messages from her parents. None. Outside, she surveyed the health club's parking lot and noticed nothing out of the ordinary. 10 minutes later, however, she spotted the Toyota parked under a maple tree across the street from her apartment. As Sloan slowly passed the SUV, she finally understood what had caught her attention about the vehicle. It was the license plate. Absent was the typical first-in-flight North Carolina plate. Instead, the 4Runner sported colorful mountains running along the bottom of the plate and Nevada stenciled across the top. As Sloan pulled past the Toyota, she noticed it was empty. She turned into the parking lot of her apartment complex, slid into a spot, and looked around. Several options ran through her mind. The first was to get the hell out of there, drive to her parents' house, and wait for them to get home. Or she could go back to the OCME and bide her time there. Hell, she could drive to FBI headquarters and tell the agents that someone with Nevada plates was following her. Nevada! As in Cedar Creek, Nevada, where she and her birth parents disappeared from. In the end, she got out of her car and hustled to the steps of her apartment, still feeling the burn in her quads from her workout. She lived on the 3rd story. She raced up the steps and turned the corner to find a man standing next to her front door. Leaning against the stucco wall with one leg crossed over the other, he casually scrolled through his phone. But the man's unimposing body language did nothing to staunch her fear. Sloan's eyes went wide, and a rush of anxiety took control of her body, momentarily paralyzing her. After a couple of seconds, she managed to step backward as she fumbled for her purse.
Sloan?
The man pushed away from the wall, slipping his phone into the front pocket of his jeans. He took a few steps toward her.
Sloan Hastings?
With shaking hands, Sloan unzipped her purse. She tried to scream, but her lungs were void of air from hyperventilating. The man was another step closer, and then another, before Sloan found the bottle at the bottom of her purse. She looked up just as the man was reaching into the breast pocket of his jacket. In one swift movement, Sloan raised the can of pepper spray and delivered a powerful stream to the man's face. So forceful was the aerosol that the pepper spray ricocheted off the man's face and directly into Sloan's eyes. The man went down in a heap, clawing at his eyes. It took just a fraction of a second for Sloan to feel the burn in her own eyes. She dropped the can and also fell to her knees. Just before her eyelids spasmed closed, she saw what the man had removed from his breast pocket. It had fallen onto the ground in front of her apartment door. It wasn't a gun or a knife as she had imagined. It was a police badge.